capital and, make sure our infrastructure is providing good, clean, reliable water. So, we've got a lot of ideas we're kicking around. We're working with some numbers and different formulas. It's been very productive, and actually Director Baker, just to give us a little bit of extra breathing and maybe a little bit of like a reprieve, because I know we've been bringing this up every month. Is that maybe we could work on it until March, bring it back in March just to give that little extra buffer room for us in case there's something. Because I think we're close. I think that we got some, but I want to make sure though that when we bring something to the board, that the board, and the community can go, you guys really, put a lot of effort into this and can feel at least either mildly disappointed or comfortable with what we come up with instead of something that a lot of people don't like. So, the other thing I want to say is that we are also definitely in agreement that the tiered rates are not beneficial for our community. I think that's a fair assessment. The tiered system that we currently have, going to the standard volumetric and base.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I just wanted to appreciate, I also want to say thank you to Director Baker for his work on the numbers, and Mr. Dodge as well for, their work.
I do have a question. Another question is, so if we did make some major changes, need to do the new 218, what does that cost?
So
Are we starting from scratch?
we're not starting from scratch. So the posting cost is $1,400. So any notice that's sent out is going to be $1,400. The other cost basically is going to be an hourly cost for however much time we need to have the consultant to formalize the rate and for legal to review a new notice if a new notice is sent out. So they're going to be relatively minor costs, but I couldn't tell you exactly how much they're going to be. It might be less than $2,000, it might be less than $3,000, but it's not going to be anywhere near a new study for sure.
Okay, and then Mr. Baker does bring up an interesting point about legal fees. Are you still budgeting as much as you have historically, or has that been adjusted?
So we're actually budgeting less. We've been budgeting less for the last several years. We do still have pending litigation, which has to be budgeted for, but thankfully this year it's considerably less than what we have budgeted, and hopefully in the next year we can wipe that off our budget. So that'll be an additional amount of revenue that can be put towards either reserve or some other beneficial project.
Did we lose?
Yeah, she said she had a poor signal.
She'll be back. There she is.
Oh, there she is, okay. All right.
Yeah, well, legal fees, that's the information that and I'm sure is correct. When this last rate increase was approved, and it was approved by the board, it was because we owed the lawyers $850,000 on this litigation, the Steinbeck lawsuit.
I don't think that that's correct. We don't owe anybody anything other than USDA.
Yeah, right now, but
We
then,
didn't owe them $850,000 then either. We pay all our bills on time. We don't have, I can tell you right now, if we owe anybody $850,000 for any length of time and the board doesn't know about it, then you should fire everybody and start over, including starting over with board. Because that means that everybody fell off the wagon and nobody was paying any attention to anything.
I'm not saying the board didn't know about it, I'm saying that was the way I understand, that was one of the reasons that you gave for needing a rate increase, or not you necessarily, but that was exactly the reason that they give the board members why that rate increase had to be increased, because they owed $850,000 for litigation.
Well, I can't verify or deny that right now. I don't think that that's correct. I don't think that we've even paid that much in legal fees in the last 5 years total. That you are correct in one sense, that we do have to account for legal fees in our annual budget. that annual budget is used to make the rate study. So if we're paying, let's throw out 50,000, if we're paying $50,000 a year, and that's our historic legal fee, then that has to be included in the rate study, and that has to be covered under the rates. Just to be 100% clear, the only place that this district gets money for its operating expenses, including legal fees, is from rates.
I understand that.
So our historic and current expenses are used to develop rates. So you are correct in the sense that we have to include those in the rates, but that is not the only reason that rates were increased.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. My feeling is this should be tabled at some point here to March to give the two directors time to study this, bring back some solid recommendations that we can act on in March. That's my feeling on it, and I think we need to talk about it some more. I want to thank Director Baker and Galvin for their work on it. But I think coming up on February would be too quick. So let's, I think that March would be more appropriate.
So I'll make a motion to table this.
So we need to continue it, actually.
Continue.
And,
We also have to take public comment.
I'll comment, yeah.
Yeah, we should take public comment
Your
first.
calendar's way too scary.
And then before we take, there was one other thing that, kind of talked a little about, I don't know if we want to talk about it now, Director Baker, about if, at the earliest, we wouldn't see approving any rate increase until probably several months from now.
Probably won't happen until the first of our fiscal year.
Right.
In July.
So we want to make sure the public knows so that if, no matter what happens, we're not looking at, seeing rates go up in, the immediate near future. Because I know everyone gets worried about that every time they see us on the agenda.
I think that's,
Okay, at this time, we'll take public comment. Please approach the lectern and sign in. 3 minutes. Okay, on time.
Kelly, could you be timekeeper?
Good evening, Director. First, I'd like to thank you for being thoughtful about this, and Director Baker and Director Calvin's putting a lot of effort into coming up with alternative solutions. Some of the things that I think are really important for you guys to consider as a board, as Director Baker pointed out, in 2018 there was a significant increase. However, that was not only water, because that increase also was wastewater. So the real increase was much more significant than just the small water increase, but it wasn't small. I was on the board at the time, and we were running a deficit prior to that increase, so we didn't have a choice. However, today, we're not running in a deficit. So, as a question was posed to Kelly at one time, when would the district be in deficit? 5 years. When would the district be insolvent? 7 years, if there was no increase at all. The reality is that I know that Mr. Dodds would like to have a huge nest egg of significant capital funds for capital projects in the future. That desire is great, but the community could not sustain the amount of money that you'd like to have in reserve for future projects, things that need to be replaced, infrastructure, etc. So it's not realistic. The community cannot afford it. So you got to balance that with what is possible. And the reality is that there's been 5 years of increases. The first one being a really hard hit. I know that I have a hard time getting a 5% increase in my salary every year. I don't see a salary increase sometimes for 3 years. So for me to absorb all these increases in my utilities, insurance bills and everything else, again, it's not sustainable because I'm not getting my pockets filled back up by my employer. It's not any fault of the board or the district as a whole, but it's a reality. And I'm not the only one that's not seeing an increase of double digits every year, and maybe not even an increase at all in a year. So that also has to be considered because this community is not, flush with rich people that can afford to pay whatever their bill happens to be. I know President Smiley once said it's a business. Well, not really, it's a service. It's a service district, it's providing utilities and such. And the community members who are on those services don't have a choice to not do business with you. You have to get the water from you guys, and that's period. It isn't like they have a choice. So, anyway, just something for all you guys to consider for March. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? Public comment, please approach the lectern. If not, I think I'll move to continue until March meeting.
March 20th.
March 20th, 28th?
28th, March 28th.
Okay, March 28th.
But be continued to March 28th.
Okay, that's a motion.
I need a second.
I'll second it.
Calvin's. Okay, we are going to continue this till March 28th. March 28th. By Director Smiley, seconded by Director Calvin's. Director Baker?
Yes.
Director Calvin's?
Yes.
Director Gregory?
Yes.
Director Davis?
Yes.
President Smiley?
Yes.
5-0, no absence. Do it one more time.
Okay, item 6, adopt revisions to district water and wastewater billing policy resolution 2024-2, recommended for review and approved by 3/5 vote. I think we want to table this until...
Continue it.
Continue it until March?
This one can be tabled, but you do need to take public comment.
Okay, any public comment on continuing this?
Which one do you want to do? Okay, we're tabling.
Anybody approach the lectern, sign in? Okay,
Okay,
all right, so we adjourn.
any motion to table it?
I make the motion to table it until March.
Second.
By Director Smiley, seconded by Director Baker.
I'll fight you for it.
Director Baker?
Yes.
I'm wrestling with it.
Director Gregory?
Yes.
Director Davis?
Yes.
Director Calvin?
Yes.
President Smiley?
Yes.
Okay, passes 5-0, table to March.
Okay, we're going to adjourn to the San Miguel Community Services District Groundwater Sustainability Agency, GSA, Board Action.
Time?
8:24.
GSA Board Action Pastorals Cooperative Committee, MOA, amendment number 2, recommended review and approve by 3/5 vote to approve the amendment at the scheduled PBCC meeting.
So this item is for board to review revisions to the MOA, specifically to,
Was he on fire? I don't know. Oh, okay, sorry.
so to approve the changes to amendment number 2 to only allow the county and the city of Paso Robles to be contracting agencies. The last time this was discussed, it was open to all agencies, PBCC to be contracting agencies, which this board did not want EPC and Shannon and San Juan to be contracting agencies. San Miguel does not have capacity to be a contracting agency, so the MOA that's being presented as the county and the city as contracting agencies, which was what the board discussed and had indicated that it would approve if it were to come back in that way. So what we're asking for is approval of MOA amendment number 2 and to direct the PBCC member to indicate such at the next PBCC meeting, whatever date it might end up on.
Board comment?
I have a comment.
Comes out of the
I know, yeah, really, it's pretty quick. So through my work down in South County, I do run into some of the county board supervisors. I actually ran into Debbie Arnold, who actually thanked Samuel C.S.D's work on the Paso Basin committee. And so I wanted to make sure that the board knew about that. And I think that Ms. Arnold was probably very happy that we pushed back against the EPC having contracting authority. So just want to make you all aware of that conversation. And we have that 3% stake in this basin, but man, we use that 3% very well.
Yeah, it can be a thorn in their side.
That's all I have to say.
Director Davis, you have anything?
Yeah, the way I've understood this, if we vote this down again, we're still gonna have a card in the hole. If we don't, then it's, personally, I don't think it's gonna make any difference one way or the other what they're doing, but we still got this card in the hole if we vote no.
So voting no on it tonight won't really, it's not some sort of card that we're holding that's going to make any difference.
I understand that.
So right now, the county is acting as the contracting agency for everything in the PVCC, basically.
Yeah.
Before that, the city was doing it. So right now, basically, the county is acting in violation of the PVCC MOA. This would essentially allow the county to do what they're already doing, what they're going to continue to do. Just they'll be operating within the MOA. So our 3% doesn't go away whether you approve this or not. If you don't approve it, it's not going to change the fact that the county is still doing contracting. But the longer the county works outside of the MOA, the more likely it's going to be that the EPC or Shannon San Juan push to do the same thing. If we can bring them into compliance with MOA, then we can maintain compliance with what we approved and hopefully prevent random things from happening outside of our control.
Is that it?
Yeah, I'm gonna wait on some explanations.
Well, I have kind of just from what you just said, it kind of concerns me, so maybe Christina can answer this. So if we have an MOA and we have this PVCC and the county can violate the MOA, what are we doing? I mean, what's the point of any of this? I mean, so who's the legal authority over this? If you have someone violating the agreement, what agreement do you even have?
Well, that's part of the problem is that the cooperative committee agreed to have the county do that. So the cooperative committee itself violated itself.
So what are we doing? I mean, why are we even a part of this? I mean, if it's just kind of a run-amok deal.
So I actually had that discussion today.
Okay, I'm not sure with you.
It didn't turn out very well. So being part of the BCC for us financially at this point is a benefit because we're not paying for all the little things that are happening at the PVCC. We don't have to pay for the studies all on our own. We don't have to pay for projects all on our own. We're getting, we're the recipient of $1 million towards our recycled water pipeline, which we wouldn't have gotten on our own. So at this point, financially, being part of the PVCC is beneficial to the district. We're going to get to a point where that's not the case. And at that point, the board's going to have to make a decision on what they want to do. I couldn't tell you when that's going to be. But basically, what happened in this instance is that the PVCC decided to have the county apply for that grant and manage that grant, and then it kind of grew from there. Before that, the city was doing it. The city ran out of capacity. They couldn't really do all these other projects and their projects and everything at the same time. So what this MOA or this amendment is doing is just allowing the county to continue to do that. But that's part of what I'm getting at is, your point is part of what I'm getting at is the longer things work outside of the box, the more things are outside the box. And then you just end up with the county doing whatever they want, EPC doing whatever they want, Shannon San Juan doing whatever they want, and then saying, oh yeah, well, I'm part of the PBCC, I've been doing it on behalf of the PBCC. Well, that's not the case. We need to make sure that what we're doing as the PBCC is within our agreement, so that we don't end up paying for something that we had no say in at all. So in my opinion, bringing this MOA, approving this MOA, allowing the county to do that is essentially a stopgap. We need to come up with some sort of mechanism to manage the PBCC aside from individual GSAs managing the PBCC. But before we get there, we need to bring things back inside the box. So either we say no to this and direct the PBCC to bring everything back to the county or the city and have the city do everything, which they don't want to do, or agree to have the county doing it, which is what they're doing now, and prevent EPC and Shannon San Juan from jumping in and wanting to do things, which is what they want to do.
Right, who's to prevent them from doing it? Because if the county can jump out of the box,
Well,
who's going to prevent these other guys from jumping out of the box? Then we're going to come back and say, well, you know, they're out of the box, we better change the MOA so they're in the box. I mean, this whole thing is just bizarre to me.
That's kind of why, making sure that are in place, play by the rules, and then, when it comes up, which we have done this in the past, when someone has not played by the rules, call them out.
Sounds like we're just changing the rules.
In this moment, because the problem is under the old system, it hasn't technically delegated their responsibility to another agency, even though PASO was supposed to do it.
Right.
But, we have called out, the other agencies when they've done something questionable, and we've kept them in line. And we are, if I'm mistaken, we're moving forward towards possibly a KPA at some point. Is
that's sort of the logical direction, but there is other options, and it'll have to be discussed in some form of governance has to be agreed to.
Sure.
Having individual GSAs managing huge parts of the GSP or the PBCC is not sustainable. It's not financially sustainable or staffing sustainable. It needs to be something outside of the immediate hands of one of these agencies. Because although Blaine is a very upstanding person, a very knowledgeable person, he still works for the county, still has to do what's best for the county, and if you got a supervisor breathing down your throat, probably, I don't know if this is a fact, but he's probably telling you all kinds of things about how he's not going to succeed in his profession without doing what he's told. You end up with a lot of conflicted people making decisions. I have no problem really with the county in general. I think the people at the staff level are good and they're fine, but they are under the influence of supervisors that are not necessarily good and fine.
And that's the problem.
But, as I mentioned, bringing the county into the MOA and allowing them to operate within the MOA doesn't instantly allow EPC and Shannon San Juan to do anything, because they would have to be approved to be in there too. We're just basically saying, we acknowledge this is happening and we're okay with the county doing this on a, hopefully short-term basis.
If I can just step in real quick, because I think what Director Baker, the point he's making is valid, and to that point, the longer you allow the county to operate outside of the MOU for a service that is necessary because the city can't continue to do it, the less meaning the MOU has, and the more argument that EPC and frankly the other party to it has to say, well, I need to do this on behalf of everyone else because it's necessary. If you accept this now and put specific parameters that only the county and the city can do this, and make sure that that intent is known, and so when this goes back before the board, you can even speak up and say, look, our intent for this is to ensure that no one except the county and the city can do this, and there's no not that you would necessarily go to this extent, you have a breach, right? And then you can talk remedy. But the longer you just let it go on and keep the rules loose, the less meaning the MOU has at all, and the more, the Wild West you're getting into.
Well,
If that makes sense.
we have a breach now, correct?
Technically.
You haven't reached that point yet because
Well, we
these
do.
discussions.
The county is acting outside of their authority, which they are. That's a breach of the MOA.
But everyone's allowing it, and the discussion has been had, everybody has acknowledged it, and nobody has said, county, you have to stop doing this.
Okay. So
Right.
what if we do that? What if what if San Miguel Community Services just says, hey, county, you're in breach of the MOA, you have to stop doing that? What recourse do we have? Or do they just say, the hell with you guys?
You have to sue them, and you don't want to do that.
Right.
Or maybe.
No, I know, yeah. So basically,
It's an empty breach argument at this point, but I'm just saying that everyone has been talking about it, and there is this movement of going towards allowing them, and so you have a different situation. It's not the same as if the EPC or another party just stepped in as an agent for everyone else, because the discussion hasn't been had.
no, but if they did, it would be a breach. And you'd be saying to us, the only thing you can do to resolve it is to sue them.
It's a contract.
Right? So, we don't have the resources to do that. So basically, it is the Wild West. I mean, literally. I mean, we can put the language in and say, okay, we approve this, there's absolutely no delegation of authority, and they'll wink and nod and say, yeah, and then Bruce Gibson, next thing you know, these other guys are gonna be doing it, and we're gonna be having the same conversation, and we don't have resources to sue.
Director Baker, I think that's a valid concern from what I am understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong. Just like the fact that we changed this from being, everybody to just the county and the city. I think the city was also in agreement, and the city does have deeper pockets, and using them as kind of an ally on these things, because they have mutual interest compared to with us, would be very beneficial for keeping the EPC in check. Because that's kind of what the city has done, is when there's a mutual battle, we make them pay for it, essentially.
Yeah, but I think that's why we like the way it is now, because the city is doing it.
Right.
We have that buffer, because I don't have faith in any kind of real integrity from the county.
I don't
at this
either,
point,
but the city-
with this leadership.
But our problem is at that point is that, we have to tell the city, this contract says you have to do it,
They don't want to.
And they don't want it, so this is literally the best choice, the second best choice.
Is there any other discussion from the board? If not, we'll open the public comment. Please approach Mr. Lecter.
Comment, it's a question of, well, first of all, clarifying at the Paso City Council, they revised this agreement, so to speak, to where it was agreed that Paso and the county would both be involved in approving, the way I understand it, I haven't even seen the rewrite, but that the Paso and the county have to agree on this purchasing. But I agree with you guys, because if this goes through, you're gonna have county, EPC, and San Juan voting more than 67% to approve all the purchasing. So it'll be their consultants, their suppliers, and so on. And both of those districts are in the back pocket with Gibson. So you're gonna if you give up on this, then you, like you say, you're done. And as far as the breach goes, Kelly said, well, the PVCC approved it. They didn't approve it. They don't even have the power to approve anything. Each of the individual GSAs have to go out, have their own separate board meetings, and authorize approval, and then there has to be a vote of the 5 GSAs. So the PVC hasn't done anything themselves. So, and I've been involved in with this committee and subcommittee and so on, and I've been to every meeting, and I watch how this all operates and so on. So you know, my suggestion is that you don't vote, or that you guys have to also get on that agreement with the city and the county to have your say in whatever is approved or going to be approved for purchasing. And I don't even know how those two are really working that out. Maybe Kelly knows better than me. But you know, you should clarify exactly what's going on right now.
Did you, sir, did you sign in?
Oh, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Very, very well.
Who are you?
I'm very well.
I'm sorry. I'm worried.
I'm not a lawyer, but I play a lawyer on the radio. This is the MOA. They are in violation of the MOA, not just this what they want to do. EPC can't be part of this MOA. They can't be part of the cooperative group. They're in violation with LAFCO on agreements they signed to stay a water district, and nobody did nothing about it because Bruce Gibson wanted them on, and he had no authority to make them the GSA. Only the DWR has the authority to do that, which they eventually got, but they shouldn't be sitting there. Okay, they have no land use authority. The county had 32.3% of a vote now because Bruce gave the 29.3% of the vote to EPC, which is illegally sitting there. Shannon San Juan has 20.3. So them voting together is 81.9% of the vote. Anything they want to do, you got nothing to do. You got 100% right now to amend or do anything. Once you get done with that, you only need 67% to do other stuff. They're only looking at projects that benefit them. They're not looking at projects that benefit you. They're looking at the blended water, they're looking at these other things. They weren't allowed to be a water district or petition to be a water district if they didn't have infrastructure. It's called System of Works. The only reason they got to move their petitions forward to be water districts because Bruce Gibson sat on LAFCO, and LAFCO looked the other way. There's going to be some legal action coming down against LAFCO because they're in violation of 4 sections of the water code besides what they did with this other thing. You have to do what's good for Sam and Gail, just like those other guys. Paso Robles and you guys, you got 18.1% against the 81.9% of the deal, but right now you have 100. And like what was mentioned, that board, the cooperative group, they're not cooperation. Let's see, Shannon's in violation with Brown Act violations from the district attorney's office because they went behind the cooperative group's back to try to appropriate water behind Nasi and Menno and